Face to Face is sponsored by Johnny Walker. Keep walking.
Hello and welcome to Face to Face. My name is Godfred Akoto Boafo. Normally we will deal with a person on Face to Face, but today we are dealing with a person representing a company called Zipline Ghana Limited. Of course, you've heard about Zipline. They've been in the news after Parliament adjourned an agreement between the government of Ghana and their company for the supply of, for the services of supplying blood to underserved areas in Ghana as an augmentation of Ghana's health setup. And so we've brought Zipline on Face to Face today to answer a lot of pending questions that Ghanaians have regarding this particular deal and why it is necessary for Ghana to spend $12 million on this particular service. Daniel Marfo works with Zipline. Daniel, welcome to Face to Face.
Thank you.
First of all, tell us a bit about Zipline.
All right. So Zipline is basically a logistics company. And it's a company that is pioneering drone delivery on a national basis or on a commercial basis. And we believe that a lot of logistics, ground, sea, has been taken care of when it comes to being able to move products from one place to the other easily. But there's still a lot of room for aerial logistics to augment sectors where there's a lot of need, such as healthcare and medical. And that is Zipline's mission, to try and simplify logistics across the world.
Now, we know you did this in Rwanda, and we've seen statements from the government of Ghana in its defense of the agreement with your company that Rwanda is the basis for doing this. At what point, though, did you get into contact with the government of Ghana? Did they find you? Did you find them? What happened?
All right. So the Ministry of Health and other people within government, but particularly from the Ghana Health Service, have been monitoring closely what is happening in Rwanda. And they expressed interest in, this innovative service.
So they approached you?
So, yes. So they expressed interest in this innovative service. And based on that, they informed people within government, and it led to a visit to the Zipline Center in Silicon Valley, and then that was where everything took off from.
So how long in the making has this been?
It's been something from somewhere last year. It's been a accumulation of people seeing the service happening in Rwanda, getting an interest, thinking this would be beneficial for Ghanaians, and then moving it along.
Now, we do know that Zipline operates to fill a certain need. Did you come into Ghana and look at the terrain after you had been approached by the Ghana Health Service to see if Ghana's terrain fits the problems that you solve? Or once the Ghana Health Service said, hey, come into Ghana, you just showed up?
All right. So as you said, my role is systems integration. So when there's an interest expressed, there's a lot of work that actually happens before Zipline can then decide to even come into the country and take the opportunity up. So for instance, we've worked closely with Ghana Health Service from the ground up. So we've talked to people in the various regions, not just upper management. And based on that, there's been a thorough evaluation. As part of that evaluation, what happened was we needed to first of all understand how many healthcare facilities are in this country at all. What are the levels of healthcare facilities, or what they call facility types? So you may have heard terms like CHIPS compound, health centers, district hospitals, regional hospitals, polyclinics being mentioned over the last few days. So we needed to understand how many of these are even in the country. Then based on that, we needed to do geomapping to understand where each facility is. So once we had that kind of information, understanding where every facility is, then it comes to the part of trying to even understand, can Zipline service these places in the first instance? So that is the kind of work that has been done. I know things have been mentioned around blood and a few other things. So one of the things we do is, once we understood, we needed to understand what kind of equipments or facilities are even in these health centers. So that is also the kind of work we did. And then we also had to understand, okay, if we've mapped out all these facilities, what commodities are they even stocking in those facilities? That is not information Zipline has. So we once again work very closely with Ghana Health Service to understand what products each of these facilities are ordering from the regional and central medical stores, how many times they are being filled in. And then we also try to understand from the facilities end. If you place orders, how many orders do you get? When you get the order, does it last you till the next delivery actually happens? Which products actually get finished quickly before the next delivery? And which products do you think, if you don't have them or someone walks in and you need them urgently to save a life, you would be interested in having them in that time? So that's the kind of very, very nitty-gritty work that has been taking place over the last few months.
Let me ask you, when you did this feasibility study, what conclusion did you come to? Because you said you assessed the different kinds of health facilities we had, the kind of stocking, the kind of requests that were being made by these facilities. Did you come to the conclusion that there was a grave need for the services that Zipline provides?
Yes. So I'll give you some examples from some of the places we visited. So we've been to a lot of facilities in the eastern region, central, some parts of Greater Accra, and Volta, because that is where initially the first distribution center would be based. So we got into one of these facilities and we're talking with the actual people on the ground. And they were mentioning that, you see, when they have challenges, someone walks into the hospital, bleeding. They need a drug like tranexamic acid to stop it. They usually get some quantities of this product when they place their usual requests. But the truth of the matter is that sometimes you cannot predict how many people would walk in and need that product before the next delivery. So then they run out. This facility I'm talking of is about 2 hours away from the nearest district hospital. So take a scenario whereby someone walks in at 10 p.m. in the dead of the night, needs this product to be able to be saved. Stores are not open 24 hours in these places. It might have run out maybe just the night before. They've placed a major order to the regional medical stores for a resupply. Doesn't mean that no fault of theirs and no fault of the regional medical stores that this supply is scheduled for maybe the next week. Doesn't mean that this facility should keep on not saving anybody because they don't have this product and they are waiting. And that is what Zipline's mission is to do. When products actually run out, you can actually lose a lot of lives. So we are providing an emergency delivery service. We are not replacing normal delivery, and we are not saying that other things in the health sector don't matter. But when you don't have stocks, when people actually need them at a certain point, that is where we come. So it's like we are providing a buffer. So we will just keep shipping what you need for that person who has walked in, or the next person who has walked in and needs that product, so that we provide the buffer till your regular supply comes in.
Okay, so break down the process for us. Well, let's assume hypothetically that we have built up a distribution center.
Yes.
What exactly do you do from start to end?
Okay. So just to address some other things. So when we are putting up a distribution center, the distribution center has what we call, it has a flight control center as well, because we need to be communicating constantly with Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, air traffic control, because you are flying unmanned vehicles, all right? So we have that part taken care of. Now, once the distribution center is up and running, we are actually stocked by Ghana Health Service. Their medical stores stock the facility, because these products are not being sold by Zipline to the facilities. They are actually stock just belonging to Ghana Health Service, that we are making sure that when people need them before their routine delivery, they can actually access a few.
So hold on there. Well, every distribution center stock the same kind of drugs. How do we determine what drugs go to a distribution center?
Yes. So as part of the implementation work over the last few months, we've worked extensively with the supply chain managers in Ghana Health Service. So they have over 2,000-3,000 products. And so we started from there. Okay, there's this huge list. Zipline intention is not to replace anything. We need to understand what are urgent. that when people don't get them, lives will be saved. And based on that, there was a scoping done to that 148 products that has been mentioned. So this is actually evidence-based and informed to arrive at that product list. Then what we worked back with them is, based on the facilities placing orders to your regional medical stores in these areas, how many are they ordering? Then we talk to the facilities to understand what gap exists. So there's been a lot of work to estimate how much of these products will be stocked at each center. So the list is the same 148, but the quantities may vary from distribution center to distribution center based on the localized data collected. However, there's a whole standard operating procedure that has been drawn up by Ghana Health Service, and we start with them as implementing partners to try and understand. However, as soon as there's a need for a new product to be added, over time they realize that there's some products that are no longer, maybe they are declassifying it as emergency. They have a whole structure whereby they inform us so that we no longer take stock of that product from their medical stores.
Okay, so you are walking us through the process. Tell us what exactly happens from a distribution center to, let's say, a district hospital.
Okay, great. So what happens is that we actually train the facilities to be able to make orders to Zipline when they have an emergency that they need to take care of. So before they place the request, they need to also check the stock of that product they have. And the interesting thing is we set up WhatsApp groups with all the senior management in that hospital on the same platform. So the head of procurement, the medical superintendent, the pharmacist, the lab manager, they'll all be on that same platform. So that when the person actually working says that, okay, somebody has walked in, I need maybe 2 pints of blood to save this person's life. We checked our stock, and mind you, people have been throwing blood around, but there are different types of blood. There's O negative, O positive. There are rare forms of blood. There's pediatric blood. So not all of them you can easily get. And then we have different kinds of blood components, some called platelets and cryoprecipitates, which are very hard to just come by like that. So based on the need, they place a request to Zipline. They can either pick a phone, just make a call to Zipline's center. They can send us an SMS. They can send us a WhatsApp. And then we have an online platform that they can go on and then place the request. The moment they place the request, we get the request, and then we inform the facility that we've received your request and we are processing it. Typically within 3 to 5 minutes maximum, we would get back to the facility that we are either fulfilling your request or the things you are requesting, maybe it's too much. It's outside the scope of the quantity that we agreed with Ghana Health Service.
Or it is not available.
Or it is not available, which may be a possibility as well.
But then that becomes a problem. You are the last line. You said you are the buffer.
So we are the buffer, we are the last line. But as I'm saying, it is a possibility. When you are doing, you are rolling out solutions, you have to consider every possible scenario. The reality is we also have supply chain managers who are monitoring the stock continuously to make sure that Zipline doesn't run out of the stock of these products we have committed to deliver. So we work closely with the regional medical stores, with the National Blood Services, to ensure that at least from our end, we have that buffer stock to be able to service people when they need it on emergency basis. So once they place that request, then we fill the order, and then we commit the order to a drone, and then the drone autonomously flies to the facility. Because remember I told you we did mapping. We've been looking at the places, we've been mapping, we've been taking geo coordinates of the various facilities. One interesting thing is we try to involve the facilities.
This is already done. The geo mapping, everything is done.
We've done for some facilities in the country because it's a tiered approach. So we've done geo mapping and geo coordinates for those facilities that are in the first phase, and we keep rolling and doing those geo coordinates. But once we're doing it, we involve the facilities heavily. Because, for instance, when the drone comes, it needs to know where it should land or make the products available. And in making the products available, we do not choose the site. It's the facility that will tell us that we think this is the best place for us, that the drones should deliver products to. So they are heavily involved, and they're trained on how to place the orders and how to receive the products when it comes. So it's a very integrated and very involved process, because without their support, the system would not function or work as it's supposed to.
How fast are these drones of yours?
So the drones can fly at a maximum speed of 150 kilometers per hour, but typically they fly around 120 kilometers per hour. But because it's aerial and it's in a straight line, almost straight line, it's way faster than if you were on the ground and then you were making several turns and being slowed down by traffic and bad
We've had mention of people saying that drones don't cost that much. What kind of drones are these? Are these drones that we can find in the market?
You can't find these drones in the market. So we have the typical drones everybody knows. We use them at weddings, funerals. Some of them cost typically about $1,000. So these drones, or what we call zips, are custom built. They are patented. It's our IP, intellectual property of Zipline, and that is actually one of our market's competitive advantages. So this drone is actually, you can't find this drone anywhere to put a tag to it. The only people who can probably put a tag to it is the company. So it's not a commercial drone you would fly because it has a lot of things that make it cutting edge. And that is why Zipline is the only company in the world operating medical drone delivery on a commercial basis.
And when it takes off, how much does it cost?
When it takes off?
Yes, each trip.
So the cost per trip, some of these things are a bit confidential, so I can't share. But what I can tell you is the cost per trip in Ghana is going to be less than that of Rwanda because when Ghana is bigger, there are more distribution centers. It's scale up. As economies of scale, as you scale up and you have bigger places to deliver to, your costs generally, your overheads are flattened out, so it becomes much cheaper. But the interesting thing we need to note is that, for instance, at full deployment, which is when Zipline is actually trained, so let me take the first distribution center. The first distribution center that will be based just outside of Suhum would be covering at least 500 facilities.
But people have raised questions on that, Mr. Marfo. Let me come in here. You did feasibility studies. Obviously, you know the areas with needs.
Yes.
If you're looking at the greatest concentration of medical personnel, you find them in Greater Accra and the Ashanti region and parts of the Eastern region. If you're looking for the areas that lack, you are looking at the 3 northern regions. If we're doing a pilot and we're looking at filling that last mile gap, and it is so essential, why are we doing this in Suhum, which has some of the best roads in the country, has a litany of hospitals around? Why don't we pilot this in an area that actually needs it, where the terrain is unpredictable, so that we can actually see that this technology works and is worth the cost? Why are we doing this in Suhum?
All right. The Ghana Health Service looked at also needs assessment of where these facilities or the distribution centers should be placed. We are mentioning other areas, and interestingly, on our broader scale of where distribution centers should be placed, some of these areas you are mentioning have come up. But let's look at where our first distribution center is located. From that place, you can reach also very hard to reach areas.
From Suhum?
Yes, like just beyond Afram, getting into Afram Plains. Okay. Where, assuming I don't know if you've been to Donkokrom before, you have to cross by river. Around the lake itself, there are a lot of places beyond there where if you're on those islands and you need care, it's very hard to get them. They actually ferry people by boats to cross and come. The Kwawu Mountains, if you go beyond into the valleys, where network connectivity is sometimes very terrible, when things happen in those sites, it's also very difficult coming up. Our radius also extends to places like Upper Dentra, from the first distribution center. And those places are also sometimes very hard to reach as well in terms of needs. So yes, needs is relative, but I believe that Ghana Health Service did a needs assessment, and they thought that in a place where from the first distribution center we are cutting across 4 to 5 regions, all getting some benefit from the initiative would be beneficial as well.
You are watching Face to Face on City TV. Our guest today is Zipline, represented in studio by Mr. Daniel Marfo, who works with the Systems Integration team. We'll be right back.
track of which Ghanaian athletes are performing at the highest level, from football to athletics to boxing and so much more. Get the analysis, the updates, and all the news on your favorite sports figures on the tracker every Monday at 10:30 a.m. only on City TV. City TV is live. City TV is a free-to-air digital channel. On a digital TV, please press menu on your remote control and run a news search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access City TV on your television. City TV can be accessed on a multi-TV digibox. Tune into City TV and experience your world. City TV, it's your world. Let's take you on a journey of discovery, the incredible sights, artifacts, music, and adventure. It is what makes life worth living. Our history, the arts, and soul. Art and Soul with Melissa Awad. Saturdays at 8:30 a.m. only on City TV.
Art and soul, art, soul, art and soul, art, yeah, soul, art and soul, art, soul, art and soul.
Welcome back to Face, where today we are chatting with Zipline, and we have in studio the systems integration person from Zipline, Daniel Marfo. Daniel, you spoke about tiered progress for this. You're doing this in levels. What is at level 1?
Okay, so at level 1, we did in consultation with Ghana Health Service. So just to let you know, Zipline is not just doing things on its own. We decided to look at facilities that can one handle blood easily in the radius of the first distribution center. And then we decided to look at facilities that are in some of the hardest to reach areas as well, because blood is very necessary. Now, one interesting thing we found out in this work, and I didn't know much, was there are actually quite a number of facilities in our first catchment area that can actually handle blood. Yes, so we've actually paid visits to a lot of them. We've actually met with almost all of them at different levels of workshop organized by the National Blood Services and the Ghana Health Service to understand what are the challenges they have, what blood products they are not actually receiving, and what they will be interested in receiving. So interestingly, there are different types of blood products. When you go to do a normal blood donation, you get what they pick is what they call whole blood. But you can actually process whole blood into different kinds of other components, which are then needed by people. The interesting thing is when you start processing whole blood into different components, those components cannot just be processed at those district hospitals. They need to be taken out to centers like the National Blood Service head office. But the difficulty is the moment you process them and you decide to transport them, outside of its very cold conditions, sometimes minus 15, minus 30 degrees, it cannot last more than 90 minutes to 2 hours. So then there are all these facilities in this catchment area which can actually keep some of these products, or they have the capacity that when they are brought, they can easily give it to people. But because of, look from Kolebu to maybe Asamankese, it's quite a distance. It may take you more than 2 hours, or the 90 minutes. So by the time you even get
I know you've cited it as an example, but you're saying that between Kolebu and Asamankese, there'll be a difficulty in supplying blood? There is no blood distribution center in between? I'm talking about if they are picking the blood from the National Blood Services.
Okay. because the National Blood Services has the National Blood Center and they have regional centers. But the truth of the matter is, if you're going to such places and you're transporting them by road, it can be a problem at times. The other big problem with blood, which people don't talk about, is blood expires. Just because you've donated blood today, that blood is not going to stay there forever. For instance, the whole blood you donate, within 42 days, it's expired. So facilities sometimes pick up all these donated items, and then by the time they got the donation, they actually don't have a demand for it. So maybe they went to some school nearby, they got students to donate a lot of blood, but it's not a period where they have a lot of women giving birth, or there are not a lot of emergencies. So that blood is only as good as 42 days. After 42 days, no matter what quantity they picked, it expires. So there's a problem of so people have made a case for there's no blood. But the other problem is blood actually expires. And so if it could be rationed, such that even though we have some facilities that are far off from the regional blood center or the National Blood Services, but they need this blood as and when it is happening, you can easily distribute the blood to prevent them from expiring because they were all sitting at one place. So that is the kind of efficiency we are hoping to bring to, for instance, something like blood supply. You are doing your best to cut down on blood from expiring at all, because at a central point and very quickly within the time that blood needs to get there, especially the components of blood, you can easily deliver it to the people so that they don't run the risk of, I kept the blood here and it even expired when we didn't have anyone needing it. In Rwanda, that is one of the greatest success stories that Zipline has brought. They've actually decreased expiries of whole blood, of blood products, which was over 10%, to now 0.15% across the facilities it distributes to. There's almost 100% efficiency and in prevention in blood expiring. They've also managed to cut down stockouts of blood components at facilities from 89% to 0. That is a fact. I mean, it's not something we are making up. So, in as much as there are other challenges, by having on-demand delivery, you have the chance to introduce efficiencies. So the first facilities in the catchment are facilities that handle blood. That is it. So we have identified about 20 of those. And then we are looking at also facilities in hard-to-reach areas like just around the farm plains and be in Kwewu area behind the mountains going into the valleys. So those are the facilities that are within the first catchment. One interesting point I want to make is, so people have thrown the figure of about $88,000.
Yes,
so,
and we will get to that. We'll get to that.
Yes, but I wanted to make a point here. So, for instance, if we're just delivering to these few facilities that I've mentioned in the catchment area, we are not being paid that much. So it's a...
You say that much, you are not being paid that much.
we are not being paid 88,000. We are being paid based on the number of facilities we are delivering to and the number of deliveries, average deliveries we made per day for the month. So that's why it's a pay for service. It's not guaranteed that we would earn. We have to actually work to earn the money.
So your business basically is, if there is no demand, you won't fly out.
Paid. Yes.
And once that is not done, you also don't get paid.
We are not paid. Yes.
That is what you are saying.
Yes.
Okay. Now, let me ask you, there have been those who've said, when Zipline comes in, how do Ghanaians benefit aside of the deliveries and whatnot? Who are the people who work at Zipline? What are the investments in technology share, for instance?
Okay.
When, after 4 years, if you are leaving, what do we get as Ghanaians? Can we continue this ourselves? Like you said, it's your IP. Will you share the IP?
Okay, I mean, that's a very good question. So, for instance, I have been to Rwanda, seen the operations, and the operations in Rwanda is run by 100% Rwandans. It's the technical head, the head of customer service, everything 100% Rwandans. And they make the decisions, even on expansion, on how to move in consultation with the Ministry of Health. Now, drone technology, whether we like it or not, is going to be one of the key areas for delivery or transportation in the future. And there's nothing better than Ghana getting ahead of it by having people who are trained in there. So, for instance, there are people who have already been employed by Zipline who are going through rigorous training on how to assemble drones, how to build battery cells for drones.
This is already happening.
It's already happening. It's already happening. People are being trained on how to build battery cells for drones. People are being trained on how to build communication systems for drones. People are being trained on how to work within the air traffic control space when you are dealing with unmanned aircrafts and aviation experts, you know. And there is even globally, drones guidelines are still being developed. So if we have people in Ghana who are ahead of it, then they become global leaders in that space. So there's a lot of things being done. And plus, there's a strong commitment to put up a drone training center on how to build the drones and how to put up drones together. And in Rwanda, they have this thing whereby they invite people from all levels of education. So actually, some of the employees at the Zipline office came there like an excursion to see what is happening. And they expressed interest. And they asked very deep questions. And based on that, they were employed. So it's a very knowledge transfer sharing, system.
Now, let's talk about timelines.
Yeah.
If you at the moment you are working with a big if Parliament pushes this through, within the first year, if it goes through, what level of coverage are you looking at?
All right. So I can tell you immediately the first 6 months after, if we get Parliament approval. Within the first 6 months, we'd have to get at least 2 distribution centers up and running.
Do you know where they will be? Apart from the first, you said the first one will be Suhum.
Yes.
Suhum is the only confirmed one.
The only confirmed one. So the second site must be up and running within the first 6 months of the second one being up and running. But that is a decision that would be made based on a lot of factors, need assessment and a couple of other things. So that is something I can easily tell you. So within the first 6 months, there will be at least 2 distribution centers up and running.
Per the documents we've also seen, it says that at full operation, you're expecting to conduct 600 flights per day.
Yes.
When you did your feasibility studies, did you see that kind of need? 600 flights a day, delivering perhaps antivenom, delivering blood, delivering platelets, and whatnot.
Yes. So it's actually 150 deliveries per distribution center per day. So when you add,
it cannot go beyond that.
It's possible to go beyond that, but it's 150 deliveries per day per distribution center. So here the full operation is when all 4 are up. It's 150 times 4. So that's 600. So from a distribution center, we are looking at doing about 150 deliveries at full operation, flights a day. That's the capacity. It may be less. And if it's less and the average is less for a whole month, then we are paid not 88, but whatever tier we fall in. That is how much we would be paid for that service.
And questions have also been raised about, you refuse to talk about the money, but at the heart of this, for a lot of Ghanaians, is money. And you have to convince Ghanaians that we are not just in for the money. Zipline is a company that looks to make a profit, does it not?
In the long run.
It doesn't look to lose money. So it needs this to work for it.
Yes, in the long run. So you see, for instance, people have mentioned a fair bit about money. But let me just walk you through some basic calculations of money in this sense. So for instance, at full capacity, if we're delivering to all the 500 facilities within the first distribution center's radius, that's 500. And it's $88,000. So if you divide 500 facilities by 88,000, that comes to about $174 per facility. Now, if we pick the facility that needed to even make maybe on its own, because they are getting regular supplies from the medical stores, 4 emergency trips to just go and pick some things, or patients walked in there and their relatives were told to go and buy some product because, yes, our next shipment is not yet due, I mean, if you put that alone, it's going to come to more than 800 cedis a month within ferrying in between. So there's a huge transportation cost component that at full operations and doing deliveries, you are opening up endless possibilities at a more affordable level for people to get some of these products when they need it. The other thing here is you have to cost wastage. If you go to a lot of health centers, expiries do happen. The reasons why expiries happen of medical products which have already been paid for is the fact that they ordered things that they thought they were going to need, because maybe at the time we were ordering it, let's say there was an epidemic, cholera, in this area. So all of a sudden we saw a big need, so we ordered maybe 1,000 packs of whatever we needed to treat the cholera. But the moment this product came, we treated about 200, 300, 400 people, and due to the good work that the medical team also put in preventive interventions, all of a sudden there's no need for this product, and it's just sitting there. You are hoping that people would come later on, but the business of saving lives is not hoping people fall sick, you know. So then after some time, these products will expire, and then it becomes a huge cost to the facility because they've already made purchase for these products. However, they make some of these things because they're afraid that when they need it the next time, they will not get access to it. But assuming they ordered just for what was needed at that time, and then they didn't place an overstocking request, that product could also have been given to another facility, which when they needed it, they went and they got zero. So this service helps in even distribution and prevention of waste in the healthcare space. And so if you look at just savings on transportation costs, savings on wastage, this can potentially free up millions of Ghana cedis for the Ministry of Health and for Ghana Health Service, which can then be invested in other areas which are also in need of investment. So we are seeing this from a value for money analysis and the possibility of it freeing up money by reducing wastage and improving on transportation to these facilities.
Let me ask you this before we go on our commercial break. Questions have arisen about, you are going to stock drugs from the Ghana Health Service. Questions have arisen about the unavailability of drugs, even for the existing medical facilities that are around. What guarantees do you have from the Ghana Health Service that there will even be regular stocks available for you to fly? Because that district hospital, that CHIPS compound might send a request. Hi, Zipline, I need morphine, or, well, morphine is not that urgent, but I need something for rabies management. And they send it to you, and the Ghana Health Service says, well, we also don't have rabies drugs.
Okay.
What are the guarantees you have from the Ghana Health Service?
All right. So, in fact, one of the key stakeholders we've worked with extensively on this is not even the top management, it's the logistics, supply chain managers and teams within Ghana Health Service, because the critical success of this project relies on the products being available. We started from thousands of potential products, narrowed down to 148. All that narrowing down was done in consultation with them. And what we are also doing with them is we would also place requests to them in a very long-term structured manner. So we place what we call like a request for you to know what we will probably be needing, not just this month, but 3 months from now, potentially 4 months from now, and then they can be revised in that order. So we have a team that works very closely with them, which we have done in Rwanda to great success. We work very closely with the supply chain partners.
Okay.
So there's almost always no time somebody would call and then we would not have the product. It involves a lot of engagement, and we've engaged them so much already, and we have assurances that they would work with us to make sure these products are available.
When we return from our commercial break, I will ask him the question of competition and just how reassuring these assurances from the drug suppliers are. Keep watching Face to Face.
Spice up your mornings with culturally enriched conversations, social interviews, and policy-oriented discussions that will keep you updated on the progress of the nation.
But I think that the general demeanor and posturing of our police force, even when it comes to these things, needs to be spoken about.
Join the Breakfast Daily team Monday through Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 10. Let your voice be heard with the hashtag Breakfast Daily. Join us for breakfast daily, only on City TV.
Analysis of the most exciting football league in the world. Don't miss the stats, the news, and the debate. Get expert opinions on who makes the Fantasy League Premier League Team of the Week. It's the Premier League Preview Show.
Ask any defender or any supporter out there whether they were afraid of Luis Suarez. They'll tell you no, because he wasn't as good as he was 3 years later. So I'm saying that in 3 years' time, we'll be having this conversation about Mohamed Salah.
The Premier League Preview Show every Friday at 3 p.m. only on City TV.
Welcome to the final hurdle of Face to Face, where today we are talking to Zipline as we try to get you some answers regarding a contract that seems to have caused a lot of consternation amongst Ghanaians. Now, Mr. Marfo, let's talk about a couple of questions that Ghanaians have asked, for instance. You mentioned the usage of hospitals, maternity homes, health centers, district hospitals, CHIPS compounds. Now, we know that each of these facilities are licensed to do different things.
Yes.
And blood is at the heart of what you do. Zipline became famous for blood, not for other things. So blood is at the heart of what you do, and I'm sure it will be at the top of this particular project that you're doing.
Yes.
Which hospital facilities are mandated to do blood transfusions?
All right. So from where we come from, the facilities we can supply blood to, because our main blood supply partner is the National Blood Services. These hospitals must be accredited by National Blood Service to be able to handle blood in the manner that meets their blood standards. So when we started doing a lot of the feasibility work, we realized that in the first catchment area, there were just only about 4 facilities that were registered with National Blood Services to actually handle blood from them. You see, so there's an interesting thing here. So one of the main work streams that has been ongoing is working closely with National Blood Services to ensure that all these facilities within the first catchment, which are about 20, that have lab managers, already have some experience with handling blood. So these are hospitals, not CHIPS compounds or health centers. These are hospitals. And National Blood Services is assessing the facilities they have there. Even if they have to maybe store some blood, do they even have the equipment to store them? If not, then these facilities, when people walk in and they just need the blood, then it's just flown over to them, and then they serve the person if they don't have enough equipment, whilst they ramp up to get those equipments. For those who can keep them, then it's possible that they can be supplied and they have some kept. So that was a big gap that was identified. Only 4 in the first catchment area. But with Ghana Health Service, National Blood Services, and these facilities themselves, who have been very interested in the service, have been working closely to make sure that they're in a position to be able to receive blood and handle them in the manner that National Blood Services
You keep emphasizing the fact that the facilities have expressed interest. Are you certain that if we speak to these facilities, they're not going to say that, look, we never asked for these things?
I don't think so, because we've actually had series of meetings and discussions with them, and these meetings and discussions have been organized by the National Blood Services, and we've just been invited as implementation partners. Because, you see, the fact of the matter is, no matter where you are, you actually need these blood products and blood components to save lives. Blood is an integral part of saving lives in emergencies. when there's an accident, you need blood. When somebody is bleeding badly, you need blood to save that person. So they've expressed interest. We visited a number of them as well. So the need is there, and they have expressed interest in wanting it.
2 other questions. Is this an exclusive deal that you signed
With the
government? Because we also know that it's an arena that is opening up. There are a lot of companies that are looking into the Zipline. Might be the forerunner, but there are others.
Yeah.
Potential for competition. Does that not worry you?
I mean, for Zipline being a pioneer in this innovation, there would always be competition. I mean, competition actually makes people better in the long run. But for now, I'm not sure if this is a very exclusive deal. But what I do know is at the end of 4 years, it's up for renewal. So at that point, it's up to our client to decide what they want to also do at that point.
And let's talk again about cost as volumes go up, because I've seen your numbers and you're saying that you're looking to serve at a point between 11 to 16 million people at full operations.
Yes, within the reach.
Within the reach. Will costs go down as volumes go up? Because unit economics.
Yeah.
It must certainly get cheaper.
Well, I'm not the person who does costing for Zipline, so I can't speak to that. But what I do know is as technology improves and as services get better, we also would be optimizing on our services, So if it gets to the point of renewal, and then really it's something that I believe there must be some cost considerations looked at, it will be looked at appropriately.
I take you back to the question of the people you will need for this. For the drones that you fly, you are hiring pilots?
We are hiring people with engineering background, especially in aviation. So, for instance,
that's a very small arena.
It's not so. Like I'm saying, that is one of the kind of people we need. Mm-hmm. We have generally a lot of engineers, so we don't actually need pilots because I said this is autonomous. What we need is engineers. So, for instance, we are building batteries. This is electrical engineering, so you need electrical engineers. You need people who would work air traffic control. So you need people who have some kind of aviation training experience. We actually have pharmacists because you are managing drugs. You need people who understand.
They'll be based at the distribution center.
They are based at the distribution center. So they are the ones who actually receive the orders. So if an order comes through, they have the right medical knowledge and expertise to be able to vet these things and be able to fulfill the order appropriately. We have supply chain experts because, as you know, this is also a supply chain business. And we need people who are always monitoring the data and liaising with Ghana Health Services, logistics and supply chain people to make sure that we are not out of stock of the essential products and we are always ahead of the curveball as well.
Final words to Ghanaians on Zipline, why they should not be worried.
So I would give you, I was a doubter, okay, on this Zipline thing. And I had the chance to go to Rwanda myself, to go and see it in action, So I got there, and I saw the facility, I saw everything working, But I was like, how are the facilities actually benefiting? So we decided to take a drive. They decided to take me to a facility in Kapkai. It was all over the mountains, and then we started going into the valleys, and there were some portions that there were very bad road network. And as we were making this trip, it started to rain as well, and some stones were being washed off. And I was imagining to myself, how are these people in this condition ever going to get something, if they need something urgently, medical aid? So we got to the facility after about 2.5 hours drive. We get there, we see, it's a very beautiful facility, like a lot of beautiful facilities I've seen in far areas whilst we've been on this journey. And whilst we were there was someone who needed 3 pints of blood. It took us 2.5 hours in very dangerous conditions because it was raining through valleys and hills to that place. So we're there, and the lab manager placed the request. How long do you think it took them to deliver the blood?
Tell me.
17 minutes. a journey of 2.5 hours, as by road, in a 4x4. It took us 2.5 hours because there were bad roads. You had to slow down. You had to be very careful. And I just kept imagining to myself, assuming they even needed to move this person from here to another facility for urgent treatment, wouldn't they need to give her some kind of first aid or some blood to take along now to transport the person? If they don't have that, and it takes them about 2.5 hours to 3 hours to the nearest facility in these conditions, this person would maybe lose their life, So it's actually a service that has the potential to save thousands and thousands of lives. Yes, there are doubters, but once the distribution center is up and running, our doors will be open for everybody to come and see what is happening there. They can come and witness drops happening. They can come and see the flights happening. They can actually see lives being saved. And in Rwanda, they actually invited school children to come and see it for themselves and pep up their interest in technology and drone service. So I believe it will be great for the people of Ghana.
So if you can just elaborate a bit on how many pilot flights have you done so far?
In Rwanda?
In Ghana.
In Ghana. So in Ghana, we are still waiting for clearance from Parliament and Ghana Civil Aviation.
So you haven't flown a single one just to test, or even for the test to happen, you still need Parliament?
For the test to happen, you actually need Parliament, because the condition from GCCA is they will not just grant a license to just any company to fly unmanned drones in the country, just because you want to do test pilots. There must actually be some processes that have happened. And one of them is it has to pass through Parliament. That is a condition. And then GCCA will grant the license, because we can't do test pilots without GCCA approval at all.
So there's no approval from GCCA as we speak for Zipline?
No, the condition is that once we get approval from Parliament, they would grant us a license. Because they've been to Rwanda to see it happen. They've seen all our processes, our documentation, and we keep engaging with them regularly. So once there's the approval from Parliament, then they would grant us the license to be able to even now doing the test pilots. But we've gone ahead to do all the mappings, and then we need to plan flight routes in consultation with them. So it's still a journey.
Okay, then that makes my follow-up a bit hard, but try. How did you deal with the weather? Because I know in Rwanda it gets rainy.
Yes.
But it rains a lot in Ghana.
Yes.
As well. Are these drones capable of making it through some of the rainstorms that we have here? Or, so that we don't have a situation where you tell us that when it rains, like a power situation in this country, when it rains, power goes off.
Interestingly, the crosswinds in Rwanda, from my experience and what I've seen, are stronger than here. Because, they have a lot of very high mountains. Rwanda is all mountains and valleys. But in Ghana, we have quite a number of flat areas. So the drones are built in such a way that they can fly in very strong crosswinds. So in Rwanda, in some of the most severe storms, it's been able to fly and make successful deliveries. And that is where even some of the greatest importance. You may have a good road network, but when the weather comes in unpredictable and it even breaks the road or damages it, then what happens? These people still are cut off, but they need medical supplies. So that is where Zipline is fitting in, an emergency service till the normal service can be restored.
So this morning on our breakfast show, somebody sent in a message and said, birds like to attack drones.
Yeah.
Are your drones in danger of being attacked by birds? Is it a possibility?
Well, everything is possible, but that is one of the greatest things we have to address, even with civil aviation here. So we have a strong commitment to make sure that they fly at a height that we do not have birds coming in. For instance, in our distribution centers we set up, what we do is we have control measures to ward off birds from that whole area, so that they do not run the risk of running in. So it's like a mini airport. Just as at the airports, they have measures to prevent birds from coming there, and if there are birds potentially moving around, they don't even let the drones fly till they've been warded off. It's the same things we apply. We are going by the same aviation standards and principles.
Have you lost any drones in Rwanda?
To the best of my knowledge, we don't have any drones lost.
No, but by lost, I mean crashing or just, getting lost somewhere. There have been no such incidents. So
the drones, by safety requirements, themselves are built with what we call paralanding safety requirements, safety features. So for instance, if the drone realizes that there's a fault somewhere, it would safely deploy a parachute so it doesn't crash. You understand? So the drone itself will safely deploy a parachute and land. And then its beacon alerts Zipline of where it is. And then Zipline can then come there and pick it up. So it will not crash because it has that safety feature where, assuming in the worst case scenario, it detects mechanical failure. It will just deploy the parachute and land safely.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Daniel Marfo. He's a systems integration expert from Zipline. We've tried to get him to answer a lot of questions regarding this whole Zipline deal in Ghana, what exactly it is that they are going to do with their health supply services. And I hope you enjoyed it and your questions have been answered. My name is Godfred Akoto Boafo. Thank you for watching Face to Face. Have a good day.
Face to Face is sponsored by Johnny Walker. Keep walking.